What's going on, everybody? Back again today to do another comic book review, which is not something that I love comics, and I'm really into comics. DC, Marvel, Image, doesn't matter. Star Wars, Stephen King, Dark Tower. I love comics, and I don't feel like I do enough comic book reviews on here. And that's because comics are a medium where there is just a lot of content out there. Like comics is like comic books and all the different comic book companies, it's kind of like streaming services and all the different streaming services. Like if you're subscribed to Hulu, Netflix, uh, Amazon Prime Video, HBO Max, between all those services, you have so much content, and that's the exact same way it is with comics. Also, like with the streaming services, yeah, you have a lot of content at your disposal. Not all of it's good. Not all of it's good, and it takes some digging and a lot of reading and a lot of siphoning through the shit to find the hidden treasures. Now, you know by the title of this video that we're talking about Grant Morrison's The Multiversity. On this channel, I have talked endless amounts of shit about DC and how they handle the concept of a multiverse, what it is that they really use their multiverse to do. And yeah, I've talked a lot of shit about it. A lot of people, as a counterpoint, DC Comics fans, told me, read the Multiversity. It will change your opinion on the multiverse. So I did. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. Because I'm open to having my mind changed if it's possible. So I'm going to give it a shot. So I bought it, and I read the whole thing. The Multiversity it's a mini series of one shots, and each one shot gives you a glimpse. But well, I'm not going to say each one, but how many one shots is it? I think there's like 19 of them. I don't know off the top of my head. You can look that up pretty easily, but it's between all of the one shots that are contained in this, you get a little glimpse as to what is going on each different alternate reality within the DC multiverse. Now, of course, this came out back when DC had somewhat of a structured multiverse. I think there were supposed to be like 52 alternate realities that made up the multiverse. Nowadays, what DC's doing is the multiverse is infinite, and there's honestly they try to say this shit that there's more than one multiverse. And to me, I think that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And here's why. So, in this story, just using this as an example, the characters in this story, they use this ship called the Ultima Thule, I believe. This ship can traverse between the planes of reality and jump from universe to universe across the multiverse. And of course, when you do that, when you hop from one reality to another, you notice the differences. Sometimes the differences are subtle, sometimes the differences are huge, but you'll notice them. Like if you are Superman and you jump over to another universe and there's a Superman, another version of you, you know you're in a different multiverse. You know you're in a different universe. Sorry. That's how you know. That's how you know you've jumped into a different universe. It's because you see the differences. My question is, you say that there are different multiverses. There is more than one multiverse. How do you define that? Because let's say, okay, you got all these worlds over here, all these realities over here in this multiverse, and all these realities over here in this multiverse. You don't jump from multiverse to multiverse, you jump from reality to reality. So, like, let's say you're in this reality over here in this multiverse, and you jump over to this reality in this multiverse, you've still just jumped reality to reality, and you have you have no frame of reference to tell you that this is a completely separate multiverse. You know it's a separate universe, but there's no way to define another multiverse. It's just more alternate realities. So that's dumb. To say that there's more than one multiverse, that's stupid. Which is what they've been doing right now. However, and I really don't like it. I really don't like the shit that they're doing right now with what DC does right now currently in 2021. Both just last year in 2020 and currently in 2021, I hate what they're doing with the idea of the multiverse. Grant Morrison, I do think he writes a little too meta, if that makes sense to anyone. However, this dude gets the multiverse. And people who told me to read this were absolutely right. Reading this has changed my opinion of the multiverse within DC. It is a viable concept for great storytelling, and it can be done. He does it in here. And the way it works is, this is your guide. This is your guide. You read these like 19 one-shots, and through them all, you get a glimpse into each of the really relevant. You get a glimpse into most of the alternate realities that make up the DC multiverse, and you see who the main players are in each reality and what's going on. And then, of course, at a certain point in the story, and this isn't just like in the book. This isn't just printed in the book. This is part of the story. You get, where the hell is it? Oh, right here. Okay. You actually get the map of the multiverse showing how the DC multiverse, and it's kind of layered like an onion. And then you also get pages of telling you, like, they're reading it. These characters, these two versions of Batman, are like reading comics and they're reading books, and in what they're this is what they're reading. You get a look at the different this is Earth 0, and you get a little bio. I don't know if you can really see that. And then you get Earth 1, you got a little bio on what's going on there. Earth 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It goes on and on all the way up to Earth 52. Not all of them are listed because some of them just have question marks, as in like no one's ever traveled there before, we don't know what it is. Or this one, Earth 15, this so-called perfect universe was destroyed during a rampage by the deranged and so-called Superboy Prime of Earth 33. So that one, it was one, but it's pretty much fucking gone now. The only thing that exists is this Green Lantern from that Earth, which is interesting. So yeah, it gives you a frame of reference for all of the worlds. It provides you with a foundation of knowledge for the DC multiverse. And with that foundation of knowledge, I can now appreciate it more, and I can also see how it can be used to tell great stories. It's much better than it just being this random excuse for creativity. You know, hey, I am a creative kind of person, and I wanted a career where I could just, make up whatever the fuck I wanted and make money off of it, and I don't want there to be any wrong answers, and I want whatever I bullshit out of my butthole to be valid. That's the kind of people I see who, like, in DC right now these days, who are really pushing for the multiverse, because it's like it enables them to do just that. They can use it as an excuse to be as imaginative and creative as they want, and justify it. It doesn't matter if we like it as fans or if it makes money. It's the multiverse. It's fine. It can exist. We're going to get to that in a bit. But basically, the premise of this story is the last of the monitors, Nix Uatan. He gets some kind of distress that one of the worlds of the multiverse is in danger, or a few of them are. He goes in there and he discovers this new enemy called the Gentry. And you might be thinking, Gentry, what the hell is that? Well, they're called the Gentry. And they're these, like, one of them looks like it's a giant black sphere with an eyeball in it and bat wings coming out of it. Another one is like a decrepit giant zombie woman. And towards the end of this story, you actually get a look at like their leader and who like the big bad of all this shit is, but you don't really learn his name and you don't really know what the hell's up with him. He just kind of shows up, says some ominous shit, and then D's the fuck out and throws everyone back to their own universes, or casts them away. He's like, we will fight one day, but not today. And poof, gone. Now, with the Gentry, you might be some of you may have heard the word before, gentrification, and that word is used here. The Gentry used the word gentrification. It came up at least one in here. So let's look up what that word means. Gentrification traditionally, means the process whereby the character of a poor or urban area is changed by wealthier people moving in, improving housing and attracting new businesses, typically displacing current inhabitants in the process. So, that's the traditional definition of gentrification. How is Grant, but I was asking myself as I read this, how is Grant Morrison using this as a metaphor for the comic book world and the comic book industry and the fictional comic book universes? Well, I think what he means by this is money and profits. Because the idea is like, okay, you got a shitty neighborhood, right? It's shitty. You get wealthier people to come in and invest in this neighborhood, in this community, and they build it up, but it then forces the poorer people who were living in it before out because they can no longer afford this nicer area now that it's nicer. They no longer fit there. I almost see it as like it's a metaphor for he's saying like comics should be this ultimate expression of creativity. You can do whatever wacky, insane, obnoxious bullshit thing you want to do in a comic book story, and it shouldn't matter how much money it's going to make. It shouldn't matter how much the fans are going to like it, which will ultimately determine how much money it's going to make. But I think he's saying like comics are starting to be held to a higher standard, and it's starting to be like the wealthier people are moving in, and since they care about the wealth and the profits and the bottom line, the original people who belong there before, the creative people, they're kind of getting forced out because they can't be as creative. You can't be as creative as you absolutely want to and still make a profit. If you really want to make a profit, you have to cater to your audience because your audience pays your fucking bills. So, in other words, it's like it doesn't matter how badly you want to make a animated movie about what would Batman be like if he existed in feudal Japan. It doesn't matter how bad you as a creative artist want to make that and see that realized. You have to ask these people above you with the ching, hey, can I make this? Will you allow me to make this? And if they say no, if they look at and it did happen, Batman Ninja happened, but I'm just using that as an example because I don't think it should have happened. I think what should have happened is exactly what people like Grant Morrison are afraid of. They asked to do this crazy wacky shit, and then the marketing teams and the analysts come back and they go, no, no one's really asking for that. There's really no interest in that. This is what right here, we have a list. This is what this is what our audience wants. So this is what will get us profit. So this is what you have permission to do, not your own personal creative artistry bullshit. And Grant Morrison doesn't he's like, I didn't get into this industry to just show up at work in the morning and have assignments laid out for me on my desk. I could do that at any other job and just be there are many jobs out there I could work and just be told what to do, when to do it, where to do it, and when to have it completed by. He goes, this has some of that stuff. I am told there are deadlines and stuff that we have to meet, I'm sure, but this job allows for a little bit more freedom of creativity. You get to be a little more imaginative. There's not so much of a right and wrong way of doing things. There really are in his mindset, it's like there really are no wrong ways to do it. There really are no wrong answers. And as much as I love this story, I still fundamentally disagree with that. The wrong answer is the one that doesn't earn you a profit. Because if you don't earn a profit, you're not going to. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Writing comics, illustrating comics, building houses, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you don't turn a profit, you're not going to be able to continue doing what you're doing. And if you love what you're doing, you want to keep doing it. So at some point, you have to compromise, conform, and just, bite the bullet, put on your big boy pants, and just do what you got to do to make the profit at some point. Some people get lucky. Some people are just so in tune with some people and what they want and what their creativeness is up in here is so in tune with the mass populace that they put out something that's really, really wacky and creative and imaginative, and it gels really well with the mass populace. It's like, think like J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling just threw together a fantasy story about this kid who goes to a wizard school, and it worked. Some people just have that, and it works. Other people, they have their ideas. They have their ideas that sound good to them, but when you put it out into the world, other people are allowed to say, no, we don't like this. And if they don't like it, they're not going to pay for it. And if they don't pay for it, you don't make a profit. And if you don't make a profit, you don't get to keep doing it. So that's just the way that works. That's the way the world works. It's the way it's the way it always has worked. It's the way it's always going to work. Now, that's my negative rant about this. But back to the story. This Gentry villain, and now I've kind of explained what the Gentry represents and their metaphor. But we don't really see them or see them do a whole lot. All we know is that they are destroying. In this story, we don't. At least. We don't see them a whole lot, and we don't see them do a whole lot. We just know that they're there. They're a threat to the world. They're the realities of the multiverse. They're destroying them in some fashion, absorbing their energy, trying to make them, trying to change them and make them all conform to one way. They say that a lot too. There's like, we will make you like us. We will make you like us. And one of the slogans that they keep talking about for the big bad guy who leads the Gentry, one of the slogans they keep saying is "Empty is his hand." Empty is his hand. And I wonder, that's interesting to me too, because it's like he's offering you his hand, but there's nothing in there. You know, it's like it's hollow promises, maybe. I don't know. We will see. Like I said, we don't get to really see this big bad very much. I'm interested in his deal and like what he entails, what his real objective is as an antagonist. So Nix Uatan investigates this distress call, finds the Gentry. He's like, I'm gonna hold them off. He talks to this other dude named Thunderer, which is basically a DC version of Thor. And he says, he's like, Thunderer, take my ship, go recruit heroes from across the multiverse to help us fight this enemy. I'll hold them off. In the process of trying to hold them off, he ends up getting corrupted by them. That's not important. So Thunderer goes and starts recruiting other people from other universes, and it's awesome. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did. Earth 20 Captain Carrot. There is a reality in the for those of you who don't know, there is a reality in the DC universe where Superman, their version of Superman, is a giant muscular bunny rabbit with superpowers named Captain Carrot. That exists. And as much as I think it's stupid, I also kind of like it. I like it in that, like, look, as long as you don't start giving Captain Carrot his own monthly comic book series that's full of really, really important information for the grander story of DC. So now I have another fucking series I have to read about this Captain Carrot character just to know what's going on with DC. Don't do that. Just let him be. He's cool like this. Just let him be this fucking little side character in these multiverse stories and let it go at that. He doesn't need his own series. You don't need to blow him up. You don't need to do that. You will ruin him by doing that, I promise you. DC already has enough shit that people have to follow in order to keep up with it. You don't need to do a Captain Carrot series. We got Calvin Ellis, the Superman from Earth 23, who is also, like, he's Superman, but then his secret identity is, his name's Calvin Ellis, and he's the president of the United States. He's kind of like supposed to be like Obama. You know, they were, a little tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, it's not Obama, it's Calvin Ellis. It's like, okay, yeah, but no, it was definitely supposed to be kind of like Obama. What else? Look at all these characters. Bloodwind, we haven't seen him in a very long time. He shows up. This Aquawoman. She's from an alternate universe where all the traditionally male heroes are actually females. and all the traditionally female heroes are males, so the roles are swapped. Who else do we have here? These little like tiny characters of Wonder Woman and Steel. You find out later on some interesting shit about them. They have a secret that you find out. I didn't really see that coming, and then it took me by surprise. This is the Thunderer guy down here. But yeah, all these crazy characters come together to battle this threat, and they end up not defeating the Gentry, but they kind of push it back, and they manage to save Nyx Uotan, the last of the monitors. And it ends with the pretty much most of the multiverse, most of the worlds of the multiverse are aware of this threat. Some of them are in some way, shape, or form. There are people on almost every reality in the multiverse that are aware of this threat and are now going to kind of like put forth efforts to combat it. And it ends with, let's see if I can find it. They are starting a new Justice League team, and it's called Justice Incarnate. And this has actually come up currently right now in DC Infinite Frontier. We see Barry Allen has been invited to join Justice Incarnate, which is every reality. Well, I wouldn't say every, but most realities have their own version of the Justice League. This is a Justice League, and within each of those realities, their version of the Justice League is, like the main one. It's there to guard that reality. It defends Earth and the galaxy and the universe. We're now building a Justice League comprised of characters from all over the multiverse onto one team, and their job is to safeguard not any one particular reality, but they're the Justice League for the entire multiverse, and they're gonna fucking investigate and get to the bottom of this Gentry bullshit and deal with that. And you got Captain Carrot, Mary Marvel from one of the realities, Earth 23 Superman Calvin Ellis, Aquawoman, this weird Batman from this like cyberpunk post-apocalypse future, Thunderer, this weird version of Abin Sur, Green Lantern, and this version of the Flash. I'm not exactly sure who he is. And like I said, currently also in DC Infinite Frontier, from the main DC universe, the main DC reality, Barry Allen, the Flash, has now joined this team. It's called Justice Incarnate. That's how you do the multiverse in DC. You don't do an Earth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. You don't do all these books as monthly series. You don't even do half of them as monthly series. You do one fucking series. One. That way, in order to know what's going on in the grander DC multiverse within the overall story of DC, all I have to do is add one monthly title to my pull box at the comic book store. I don't have to add 50 books. I don't have to go there every week to the comic book store and take home a stack this big. Because no one wants to do that, and no functioning adult who has a family and careers and all this other shit going on, no, you don't have the time. You just don't. If you have the time, it's because I'm not saying you're not a functioning adult. I'm just saying you're the kind of functioning adult who you decided at some point, comics take a certain level of priority in my life, and I will give them the time they need to stay current and stay relevant. And that's fine. I didn't put them in that high of a priority position, and I don't think most people do. I think most people are functioning normal adults, and they realize, like, hey, real life shit that I got to take care of, that comes before comics. Alright? So, this is how you do the multiverse in DC. I absolutely love it this way. This makes me want to, like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm about to say this. This makes me not really hate as much the McFarlane DC Multiverse toy line, because there are now, after reading this and seeing this take on the Multiversity, like from the multiversity, seeing this take on the DC multiverse, I am now so much. I'm like, yo, I want a Red Sun Superman figure, and I want a Earth 23 Calvin Ellis figure to add to my toy collection, and I want all these weird alternate reality versions. Fuck it, I might even get a Captain Carrot figure. I can't believe those words just came out of my mouth, but I might. This is how you do the multiverse. You don't split it up into a bunch of little pieces. Even though that sounds wrong because it's a multiverse and it's made up of all these different alternate realities. There's so many pieces to it. It's not how you tell stories with it when it's that big of a thing. You don't split it up. You do something like a mini series, or you do one monthly title about one team of characters, and that's all you need to read. That's all you need to read to know what's going on out in the outer layers of the DC multiverse. That's how you do it. So I really liked this. I really liked the Multiversity. I've heard there's a graphic Superman story arc called Multiplicity. And I don't think it's written as a direct sequel to Multiversity. It sounds like it might be, but I don't think it's necessarily exact. I don't think it's exactly supposed to be that. But I've heard a ton of people online say that if you read Superman Multiplicity and you were confused by it, it's because you need to read this first. Well, I have read this first now, and I have Superman Multiplicity over here on the shelf, and I cannot wait to dive into it. I hope it goes deeper into this. I hope it covers what's going on with the Gentry. Yo, fuck the death metal people. Fuck the Dark Multiverse. Fuck the Batman Who Laughs. Fuck Perpetua. Fuck Darkseid. Fuck all that shit. This Gentry stuff is promising. I'm in. I'm interested. After reading the Multiversity, I'm like, yo, that's the threat. Focus on that. That's your next big thing. Focus on that. What is that? Now, just like a little side note at the end here, I do think Grant Morrison, there are certain times where, like, this dude writes so meta. Like in here, in this book, the way that all these characters on all these different realities are made aware of this Gentry threat is by reading comic books. You know, like, there's a lot of, like, it's so meta, if that makes any sense to people, in the more traditional definition of the word meta. It's so of itself. Like, it's interesting. It's interesting, but it's weird. I didn't hate it, but there were moments where Grant Morrison was really treading that line, where it's like, yo, dude, if you lean a little too far in this direction, little too much farther in this direction, you're going to have gone way too far, and I'm going to be like, fuck this whole thing. He never did. He always treaded that line, but it made me real nervous because I was really liking the story, and I was like, there were a couple moments where I was like, this is it. This is where he just goes off the fucking deep end, and I stop liking this, which is going to suck because I've really loved it up until now. He never did, but there were several moments in here where I got really worried. This dude, he needs I'm not going to say he needs a co-writer, but like, Jeff Johns needs to kind of like needs to read all of Grant Morrison's shit before it goes to publication. And Jeff Johns needs to leave some like footnotes like, hey man, maybe don't do this weird meta thing that you're trying to do. But anyway, that's beside the point. It did turn out fine. I really loved it. So I cannot say enough good things about it. My outlook on the DC multiverse has been changed based on this. You know, if they still decide to, and I feel like they are still going to kind of go off of this, because like I said, one of the big things being mentioned right now currently in DC Comics in Infinite Frontier is the Justice Incarnate team that's made up of all the different heroes from all the different realities. So I feel like we're not done seeing what was established here and what was set up here. I feel like we're not done seeing that, and I cannot wait to get more. Really loved this. Highly recommend it to anyone who has, like, you've never understood the multiverse, it's always confused you, pissed you off, or anyone who's just loved them. I think if you've always loved the multiverse, you're definitely going to love this. If you've always loved the multiverse, I don't know why you haven't read this already. Excuse me. But yeah, Grant Morrison's The Multiversity from DC Comics. 10 out of 10. Could not recommend it any more than I am right now. So that's pretty much it. leave some comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Anyone else who's read this, did you like it? Did you not like it? And why? Please, if you liked what you saw here and you like this video, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel maybe. Check out some of the other videos. And other than that, I will see you guys next time.